Picture this. It's 1999, and I'm sitting in a small banquet room of a large luxury hotel in Amsterdam. Next to me are 20 other hotel management graduates, and we're waiting for our introduction day. In walks the very distinguished baby boomer head of the hotel, Angelo. And he looks at us with a smile. He's charming, and he knows. And he walks up to the front of the room, and now with a serious face, he starts his speech. I was a poor Italian boy, bussing tables in this restaurant. And look at me now. So I'm telling you, if you work hard, if you're loyal, and if you listen, then I'm gonna make sure that you become a general manager. Wow, he truly mesmerized me. And I decided instantly that I also wanted to become a GM. And 3 weeks into the job, I noticed that there were some areas of improvement in staff planning. And that was a task I had been drilled upon during my 2 traineeships in London and New York. So I walked up to my Irish Generation X manager, Carl, and I said, "Hey, Carl, I've noticed that there's quite some staff hanging around in the evening, bored. And I believe we can be more effective. Can I have a look?" And he looked at me with a strange face. He said, "Viona, you're not paid to think. You're paid to work." Oh, wow, that was a true slap in the face. And it took me by surprise. It hurt. Imagine. And then and there, I completely disengaged from the job, from Carl, and the magic of Angelo, that I actually hadn't seen since that introduction day either. So 9 years after this incident, I became a manager of a team of millennials myself. And I very quickly found out that they have fundamentally different views on life than I have as an Xennial, or than the Generation X above me. And I'm sure you've all heard about generations before, but let me refresh you a little bit. Well, let me check. The baby boomers, born between 1940 and 1955. Are there any in the room? Yeah, yes, hello, welcome, sir. So you were responsible for reconstructing society after the Second World War, but also because of it, maybe feeling a little bit entitled to everything now. And what if we created an AI avatar, like an iconic artist? Who would that be? Well, I chose, with the Da Vinci app, for Mick Jagger. Yeah, it's a great representative. And then, who remembers the Cold War and the bomb? And you can put your hands up if you would like to. Yes, hello, just a couple. So you are Generation X, born between 1955 and 1977. And the war and the oil crisis were causing a lot of conflict and friction in the economy and society. And there were no homes, no jobs, and life was quite tough. And that's why your generation tends to be a bit pessimistic. However, on the upside, because of this, you're focused on the collective. You've created strong unions, and back then solid pension plans, and you actually wanted to feed the world with events like Live Aid. And I believe that Bono is a great representative of this generation, right? But then, halfway through the 90s, wealth was growing and the economy was booming. So who remembers buying their first cell phone around 20 years old? Yes, yeah, we're getting more of them now. So we are the Xennials, born between 1977 and 1983, a micro-generation. And life was actually quite good. We didn't need to be as pessimistic as Generation X, but we didn't really recognize ourselves in the lightheartedness of the millennials either. Our generation is no-nonsense, ambitious, and we invented climbing the corporate ladder at astronomical speed. But most importantly, we had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. And we all know that that changed everything, right? And as an ambitious avatar, I believe there's only one strong woman out there who represents it very well, Beyoncé. Yeah, cheer for her. And then, who was a teenager and remembers those 2 airplanes flying into the Twin Towers? You can, yes, I expected more of you. Yeah, hello. You're the millennials, born between 1983 and 1995. You're the first generation that grew up digitally, right? And your mostly Gen X parents have told you that anything in life is feasible. And you've embraced social media, and you love fun experiences. However, growing up online in your formative years has also made it a bit harder for you to make deep connections or to give and receive feedback. You'd rather post a comment. But let's stick with the lightheartedness. What avatar did I choose? Let's see if you recognize this beautiful lady. Do we have Swifties in the house? Yes? Hello, welcome. And then finally, the generation that sat in their student room for 2 years trying to study during COVID. I'm expecting a lot of you here. Can you just raise your hands? Yes. Oh my God. Born between 95 and 2010. And you have to make up for all the previous generations. The world is on fire. The climate is going downhill and society gaps are growing. And you feel that you have to solve all these problems. And that's why you're such true believers of diversity and inclusion. And you're focused on system change. And this is my personal favorite. I believe that Harry Styles is a great representative, right, of your generation. And to be factually right, he is born in 1994, so on the cusp between the millennials and Gen Z. But hey, he embraced diversity and inclusion, right? Now back to my story. It's 2008, and I'm a director of sales at another luxury hotel in Amsterdam. And I'm trying to explain the different needs and expectations of my millennial team to my Generation X general manager, Claire. I said, hey, Claire, my team really would like training and development because they want to learn and grow. And Claire said, oh, sorry, Viona. Top management at headquarters decided against it. You need to prove yourself first, and then you might get development as a reward. My millennial team threw their hands in the air. They got frustrated. Some of them even left their jobs because of it. And this is a great example of what we see in the current workplace, right? Where Mick Jagger and Bono are saying you need to work hard and prove yourself, and then you might get development as a reward. It's Taylor and Harry that say, no, personal development is a fact of life. There's more to life than work. And I believe that when we are all having more awareness of this, more conversations about this, we could become a little bit better in stepping stones forward. What happens if we don't understand each other is that we are lost in translation. And sometimes it happens that we are so convinced of our own truth that we actually forget to hear the other side of the story. And that's what's called perception. And this growing problem of perception between the generations has fascinated me for over 20 years. And it has fascinated me for over 20 years. And that's why I decided to change my career completely and dedicate my full time to this challenge we have at hand. And as an expert in the field, it puzzled me, how am I going to present this solution to this big problem in a 15-minute talk? And therefore, I thought of like a very generic solution that will allow you to build a bridge towards the other generations, but it will also allow you to build bridges between any other differences that we can experience within each other, like gender, race, or sexual preferences. But how is perception created? So it's created based on our conditioning, the norms and values that our parents have given us, the things we are taught in school, or the things we experience in life. Maybe we've been bullied. Maybe you have been the bully. Everything that we experience has an influence on our perception. Because we do not see people for who they are, we see people for who we are. And I always have to think of this story that Stephen Covey wrote in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I quote, "I'm riding the New York subway, and it's a peaceful, quiet morning, and in walks a man with his children, and he sits down next to me, and he closes his eyes, apparently oblivious to the fact that his children are loud and disturbing, and they're really annoying me. So I look at the man and I say, 'Sir, can you control your children? Because they're really annoying.' And the man looks up at me and says, 'Oh, I'm sorry. We just came back from the hospital and we heard that their mother died. I guess we just don't know how to handle the situation.' And all of a sudden, I saw things differently, I felt things differently, I behaved differently. And that's it, right? As soon as our perception changes, emotions and behavior change automatically. So when we would all become aware of our own perception and start having meaningful conversations with each other, then life would become a lot more fun and easy. And in my personal opinion, there are not a lot of companies who've nailed this in their culture, but there's one company that really fascinates me. It's Coolblue. It's a very successful Dutch e-commerce company that sells 2.3 million euros in appliances every year. And their promise is anything for a smile. And their employees love working there. And it's not only the employees, it's also their families and their clients that are super happy of being part of their community. And in my opinion, they deliver on promise. And you know why? Because they actually embraced having meaningful conversations in their culture. So why should we have meaningful conversations? Because they contribute to developing better relationships. And as we are deeply social species, anything that contributes to the quality of our relationships makes us happier. And recent study shows that the happiest people that spend 25% time less alone and 70% time more in having meaningful conversations than the least happiest people. Or concluding, having meaningful conversations builds better relationships and makes you happier. And now I hear you wondering, how can I become better at having meaningful conversations? So there are 4 basic conditions you can reflect on and start practicing with. And the first condition is, what do you want to get out of the conversation? Do you make your intentions clear? For example, I would like to work better with you. And if you want something out of that conversation, it is you that needs to take the first step. You need to leave your ego at the door. Because you are 100% responsible for 50% of the relationship. The second condition. Have you ever noticed in a heated discussion that your thoughts are racing in your mind? And I recently had one the other day, and my brains were telling me, no, Viona, don't do it, don't tell, she's not right. And I couldn't listen to the other person anymore. So how do we understand the other person? You need to listen free of judgment and full of curiosity and respect. Because you need to understand the other before you want to be understood. The third condition, but how do you listen free of judgment? So when you become aware of those racing thoughts in your mind and you notice that they are pointing at the other, you're most likely judging. And then you all of a sudden notice there are 3 fingers pointing back at yourself. And you can ask yourself internally, is this judging thought helping me achieving my intention? No. So you need to show a growth mindset. The fourth condition, and the last one, you need to be able to reflect on your own behavior and your communication style. Be welcoming. Be aware of your perception or your possible blind spots. And be open to your insecurities and vulnerabilities about not knowing everything of the other generation. So you need to understand yourself to be able to effectively engage with the other. And to recap, you can ask yourself these 4 questions. 1. Are you 100% responsible of 50% of the relationship? 2. Do you understand the other before you want to be understood? 3. Are you showing a growth mindset? And 4. Are you reflective enough of the effectiveness of your own behavior? And if all your answers are yes, that's great, because that's what I call Gentelligence, the art of having meaningful conversations between generations with the intention of complementing each other, have better relationships, and in the end, be happier together. And if we would all create more Gentelligence and really have those meaningful conversations where we are not judging anymore and that we have lots of respect and curiosity for the other, we wouldn't be threatened by the differences anymore. We would actually see the uniqueness and the synergies between all. And we would all be connected. And as I told you earlier, I've worked on this challenge for over 20 years. And, you know, it is one of the things that I do every day now. I connect people, I connect organizations in building bridges between any of the differences. And sometimes I'm really fascinated by the fact that simple solutions can make a huge impact. So what I would love for you today, and really inspire you to do, is take a big step in your journey towards Gentelligence. And as a true great baby boomer activist once said, they may say I'm a dreamer, but I hope I'm not the only one. Thank you.